In this series of sessions we call The True North, we hope to show everybody, citizens, immigrants, and refugees alike, why our unique beliefs have made our Canadian way of life possible, and why we need to understand and strengthen those beliefs if Canada is to have a bright future. Those who like our way of life but don't like our beliefs must be brought to understand this truth. It's our foundational beliefs that have made our way of life possible, and not the other way around.
So thank you for joining us. Thank you for following the paper trail of this booklet, for joining us on the internet. And I can't hope to say anything in a short pamphlet like this. So I put together a longer series of videos. I want you to please listen carefully. What I'm going to say here, you're probably not going to hear anywhere else. I'll start with saying this. Since we're celebrating Canada's 150th birthday, I can tell you without hesitation that Canada of my youth is not the same. It was not the same Canada as the Canada of today. And the Canada of today is not anywhere close to the Canada of 150 years ago. We have changed directions 180 degrees. And the philosophers and the anthropologists, those people that analyze culture, would say our country's suffering from what's called demoralization. We're headed 180 degrees in the wrong direction, and our belief system has completely changed from the belief system we had in Canada 150 years ago. And it's best fleshed out, not with philosophy. We can't use a whole bunch of philosophical words here that people don't understand. I'm most impressed by what the culture shows. And as every day in my life, I'm introduced to things in this culture. I can tell you there's something drastically wrong with the way that we're going in our culture. A few years ago, I got it in my mind to start reading some of the magazine covers and taking them seriously. And I got a subscription to Maclean's, for instance. And month after month after month, I was introduced to all the problems in our society, from teen suicide to unemployment to global warming to problems in the economy, the possible collapse of the economy. And I began to realize I'm being bombarded with this every day through only one magazine. I can just imagine all the magazines that are out there. I think of the women that go through the checkout counter at the supermarkets. What are they bombarded with every day? Divorce, adultery, all kinds of things. And almost everything is totally negative. And I begin to think, my culture is full of so much negativity. Where's the positivity in my culture? And so I find myself wanting to escape reality sometimes. So I go to the movies. Well, I go to the movies, and what do I see? I see more negativity in the movies than I see in reality. There's a slew of movies out. The world's being destroyed by a dozen different ways. And it's like appalling. There's no place to escape. For instance, I think of Armageddon, for instance. At the very beginning of the movie, the narrator says this was the planet, 150 million years ago when the dinosaurs roamed a lush and fertile planet. Well, that all ended with a rock that's 6 miles long or whatever that hit the planet and destroyed all life. And he ends his little session with saying, it's not a matter of if it'll happen again, it's just a matter of when. And I think to myself, golly, that's encouraging.
It happened before. It will happen again. It's just a question of when.
And then that doesn't come from the ideology we had 150 years ago. The ideology we had 150 years ago, we knew that there was asteroids, but we knew, because we had another source of knowledge, that there's no chance in the world that an asteroid will ever hit this planet. I'm sorry, it just won't happen. Now, I can say that to you because I have another source of information other than just the media. I'm just saying to you, the media is full of so much negativity. Is it any wonder? I just think about being a young person in my day. When I was a boy in 1950, we had baseball cards, and I remember we had these they were called tragedy cards or something. And you get, there'd be 6 of them and some bubble gum. And it showed the world being destroyed by an asteroid. They saw a nuclear war, and they had all kinds of different ways of destroying the world. And as a little boy, I thought to myself, if this world is going to be constantly destroyed, I don't even know if I want to be a part of it. That was my youth. The only difference is, when I was a boy, I had all these negativities, but I still had the positivity of the culture at that time. We still believed in some things. And those beliefs offset the negativity. Now all we've got in our culture right now is the negativity and nothing to offset the negativity. You think it's not bad? I'll tell you what. You think of those movies like Deep Impact. The world is crushed by an asteroid. We think of that the one where there's a solar flare, and the world is burned. The atmosphere is burnt away. You think of the movie 2012 with water coming over the top of the Himalaya mountains. We're drowned. Where's the antidote to this kind of stuff? This is entertainment. And the whole idea of entertainment was to always present a problem that got you engaged, and then to give you the solution. But what I've noticed in most of these movies, there's only a few people that take the benefit of the solution. The rest of us are waiting to be drowned or fried or whatever. I'm just saying, there's no solutions anymore, and no one even does it anymore. What makes it even worse, there's some new films out, dystopian films. For instance, trying to think of the one, Skyline. Skyline, aliens attack the Earth, and there's no resolution at all. They are so powerful, they just scrape all the human beings into their ships and eat them for lunch. You know, that you call that a resolution? Then we think of, well, those are movies for adults, but the kiddies still have their comics. The other day I was reading a Superman comic, and I never believed that when I was a boy, Superman was my hero, because he lived for, truth, justice, and the American way. And he would always fight justice, and he'd always win over the bad guys. Well, in the new Superman comics, he goes into retirement because he can't handle all the lawsuits, because the people are suing him left and right for intermeddling with their lives. Criminals, that are caught by him saying, you hurt me trying to catch me. I'm going to sue you. What kind of a culture is it? We can't tell good from bad anymore. In 1950, we still knew right from wrong. In 150 years ago, we knew right from wrong and good from bad. And now that's completely gone. They're even teaching it in our school. There's no such thing as good and bad and right and wrong. I'm sorry to say, folks, you cannot have a country that lives with that philosophy. It's a demoralized country. And 150 years ago, we didn't have that. And I'm going to talk to you in the next session about what we really, really had in the years past. We'll go back a little bit into history, where our roots were, where they came from, and what they meant to us. And now that they're all gone, all we have left is the problems, but none of the solutions.